So hello guys, this is my first YouTube video and we are going to discuss about the life cycle of malaria in this video. Malaria is an infectious disease which requires two hosts. One is an intermediate host which is man, as it affects our mankind very deeply, and second is the definitive host which is mosquito, that is a female anopheles mosquito. So today we are going to start our new and first topic, it is malaria life cycle. So talking about infectious agent, these are the infectious agent which cause malaria. We have Plasmodium vivax, we have Plasmodium falciparum, Plasmodium ovale, Plasmodium malariae, and Plasmodium knowlesi. So about Plasmodium vivax, it causes benign tertian malaria. It causes benign tertian malaria. About Plasmodium falciparum, it causes malignant tertian malaria. About Plasmodium ovale, it causes ovale tertian malaria. About Plasmodium malariae, it causes benign quartan malaria. About knowlesi, it causes quotidian or simian malaria. So what does it mean by benign tertian malaria? That fever occurs every third day. Falciparum malignant, then fevers occur again after third day, but it's severe. Plasmodium ovale, fevers occurs after every third day only. Knowlesi, it's like infect human, it mainly affects the monkeys. And Plasmodium malariae, which is a benign quartan malaria, fever recurs every fourth day. So now let's come to our main topic, which is life cycle of malaria. So life cycle of malaria, as discussed, it takes place in two hosts. One is a definitive host, and that definitive host is the female anopheles mosquito, and one is a intermediate host, and that intermediate host is man. Also understand, malaria life cycle undergoes in two stages. Stage number 1 is known as a asexual stage. Asexual stage, which is again divided into three phases. Phases we have, first is a pre-erythrocytic schizoid phase. Then we have next is a erythrocytic schizoid phase, and next is third is the gametogony. An asexual stage which takes place in mosquito. We don't have any such phases. So in human, the first stage, which we call as a pre-erythrocytic schizoid stage, let's discuss that. So first thing is now the mosquito. This mosquito will cause a human bite, and through skin it will get mucosa enter into the circulation, and once it enters into the circulation, it will take almost 30 minutes. It will take, what is the infective form? Infective form is that through mosquito's salivary gland, it will enter into the circulation through bite. And this process will take 30 minutes. It will remain in the circulation, and then it will enter the liver. Now in liver, what happens is the mosquito sporozoids have circumscribed sporozoid receptor, and this receptor get attached to hepatocytic receptor, and this hepatocytic receptor and the mosquito sporozoid receptor will get to sporositic receptor, hepatocytic receptor. It will enter into the hepatocytes. Once the sporozoid enters into the hepatocyte, it will transform into trophozoites. Once it transforms into trophozoites, it will undergo multiple nuclear divisions to get formed into pre-erythrocytic schizoid. And this pre-erythrocytic schizoid, after multiple nuclear divisions, it will get transformed into merozoites. So this Pre-erythrocytic schizoids contains of multiple merozoites. Now these merozoites will be released into circulation. They will be released into circulation by hepatic rupture. The hepatocyte will rupture and these merozoites will release into circulation, and once they get released into circulation, then they will get back to the RBCs, and then this stage ends. One more thing in this stage is that not necessary that every trophozoite get transformed into pre-erythrocytic schizoid and then into merozoites. Some trophozoites remain dormant and they will again cause a relapse of the malarial infection, which term is known as a recrudescence. I'm so sorry for the page turning, but this term is called as a recrudescence. Now, next is now the circulation may merozoites have entered, and this stage is done. And now we'll be starting with the second stage, which is called erythrocytic schizoid stage. So now we have is the erythrocytic schizoid stage. What happens in this stage? Now the merozoite release will have react with the RBC. This is the RBC, and RBC ka receptor पे there is a glycophorin receptor. So on this glycophorin receptor, the merozoite will be attaching, and through endocytosis process it will enter the RBC, and it will settle in the RBC within a parasitophorus vacuole, and it enters the RBC into and then settles into parasitophorus vacuoles, and that time merozoite get converted into trophozoites, and those trophozoites will again undergo a multiple nuclear division to form a erythrocytic schizoid, and this erythrocytic schizoid will then ultimately release again merozoite accompanied by rupture of RBCs. Also know that this entire cycle almost takes up to 48 hours to take place, and the trophozoites which are formed are the early trophozoites, which are ring shaped, and then they get converted to late trophozoites, and late trophozoites they get converted to erythrocytic schizoid, and then again the merozoites are released. Now the merozoites are released, they have two functions. Ek to those merozoite release will cause more and more RBC infection. RBC infection more and more they will cause, and thus the cycle will go on repeatedly. And this RBC ruptured plus that Plasmodium falciparum, let us take example that merozoites, so they will cause the um, release of undigested products of hematin, then porphyrin plus iron porphyrin plus that merozoites, all of them will cause the formation of malaria pigment. The 2-3 points which are important. Then let's come to third stage, which is the gametogony. Now what happens in gametogony? Not all of them will lead to formation again repeat cycle, and then again the formation of merozoites, the merozoite, then again then those are continuously repeating the cycle of RBC rupture. But some of them, instead of developing into entering into the RBC, they will develop into trophozoites. Okay, and those trophozoites will get transformed into sexual forms which are known as a gametocytes, and here starts the stage known as a gametogony. Those gametocytes are basically round in shape, mainly seen in P. falciparum, which causes malignant tertian malaria, and otherwise they may be like in a crescent or banana shaped also. Now there are two types. Now this gametocyte, there are two types, male and female gametocyte. Male gametocytes are also called as a microgametocyte, and female gametocytes are called as a macrogametocytes. They are the sexual forms as well as they are the infective form for the mosquito. Now understand, a female Anopheles mosquito will take up the blood meal of both asexual as well as sexual form. These are the sexual forms, and asexual form there will be what? They will be taken up like merozoites. Merozoites, correct? Yes. So asexual forms, which are merozoites, will be like digested by the female Anopheles mosquito, and whereas the sexual form gametocyte undergo further processing, that is development. So what happens when these enter the gut of the female Anopheles mosquito? At that time, the female gametocyte transforms into a single female gamete, while a male gametocyte forms 8 male gametes by the process of flagellation, exflagellation. Now next is fertilization. They will undergo fertilization to form a zygote, and that zygote, after getting converted into motile form, will lead formation of ookinete. And now this ookinete will penetrate the stomach wall. Once it penetrates the stomach wall, it will lead to formation of oocyst. Now this oocyst will undergo maturation. Till maturation, this oocyst will form 4 spindle shaped, these are the 4 actually spindle shaped sporozoids. So they form 4 spindle shaped sporozoids, and once the mature oocysts will rupture, these 4 spindle shaped sporozoids will be like released, and then they will again very fastly enter the salivary gland of the mosquito. And once they enter the salivary gland, again the mosquito is ready to infect a new human. So basically this whole process of completing the life cycle of mosquito takes 1 to 4 weeks. Erythrocytic stage in human takes almost 48 hours, and that 30 minute into circulation takes almost pre-erythrocytic schizoid stage to enter. The pre-erythrocytic schizoid stage, before 30 minutes the sporozoids remain in the circulation. So yes, that's about the life cycle. More of kind you can see this diagram. As in this diagram, man follows the asexual cycle and the mosquito follows the sexual cycle. So here you can see, okay, in the asexual cycle what happens, the sporozoids enter into circulation. Those sporozoids का all species, they will enter to the liver as a pre-erythrocytic schizoid stage. Now understand, the sporozoid will contains attached to the hepatocytes by the circumscribed sporozoid receptor, and now the hepatocyte to form a pre-erythrocytic schizoid stage, and this will form a multiple merozoite by multiple nuclear division, and the hepatic merozoites which are formed inside the pre-erythrocytic schizoid, they will be released upon the rupture of the hepatocytes into circulation. Once they enter into the circulation, they will attach to the glycophone receptor of the RBC cell membrane. Then they will come under the inside the parasitophorus vacuole of the RBC, and then they'll be converting into a early trophozoite, which is of a ring form, then into late trophozoite, then into an immature schizoid, which will be converted into a mature schizoid, and that mature schizoid containing multiple merozoid will be released as erythrocytic merozoid. Those erythrocytic merozoid will either continue the repeated cycle and cause a hepatic rupture, or those erythrocytic merozoid will get transformed into trophozoites. Those transformed trophozoites will get converted to gametocyte as male and female gametocytes. These are the male and female gametocytes which are round in cases of Malaria, vivax and ovale, and these are spindle shaped in cases of banana or P. falciparum. And now this both all the gametocyte will be transmitted to mosquito as a blood meal, and they will form a macrogamete which is a male gametocyte and microgamete which is a female gametocyte. This will form 8 male gametes and will form one single female gamete, undergo fertilization to form zygote in midgut, and then this zygote will get obtain the motility to form ookinete, and this each oocyst will undergo sporogony to produce multiple sporozoids, especially 4 spindle-shaped sporozoids, which upon maturation of the oocyst or rupture of the oocyst, sporozoids will be released, again enter into a salivary gland, and this salivary gland, and again man gets the infection by the bite of infected female Anopheles mosquito containing sporozoids in the salivary gland. So that was the life cycle. Then again some fun facts is that what the difference between relapse and recrudescence. Relapse is seen in case of Plasmodium vivax and ovale. Recrudescence is seen in case of falciparum and malaria. Few sporozoids do not develop into schizoids in liver but remain dormant for 3 weeks to 1 year. And recrudescence due to persistence of drug-resistant parasite even after the completion of the treatment. Hypnozoite lead to initiation of the erythrocytic cycle and relapse of malaria. Rather undergoing the sporozoites and trophozoites, they form the hypnozoites. And the P. malaria infection long-term recrudescence is seen as for last 60 years, and long-term survival of erythrocytic stage at a low detectable level of blood. Then talking about the pathogenesis, how exactly pathogenesis? Falciparum malaria, Malarian tertian malaria, is different from other species because it causes a sequestration of parasite. An important feature of Plasmodium falciparum is its ability to sequester holding back of the parasite in the blood vessel of deep vessel organ, blockage of vessel, congestion, hypoxia of internal organ. Sequestration is mediated by cytoadherence, binding of infected erythrocyte to endothelial cells, specialized antigen called falciparum erythrocyte membrane protein 1, and bind to specific receptor present on vascular endothelium of deep organ, binding of infected RBC to uninfected RBC by process of rosetting. And since the parasites are sequestered back in the deep vessel, they are not frequent they can avoid frequent splenic passage and can escape the splenic clearance. So what are the basic complications of Plasmodium falciparum malaria? Most important complication before this is the thing, the falciparum erythrocyte membrane protein 1, which help for the sequestration of the erythrocyte to the specific receptor which are binding the vascular endothelium of deep organ. Complication, we have cerebral malaria, which causes vascular occlusion and cerebral anoxia. Second complication is pernicious malaria, known as a black water fever, algae malaria, septicemic malaria. Black water fever, this is known as a sudden intravascular hemolysis, which is followed by fever, hemoglobinuria, and dark urine, and it occurs following quinine treatment to subject seriously infected P. falciparum. Algae malaria, cold, clammy skin, hypotension, peripheral circulatory failure, and profound shock. And other complication, we have pulmonary edema, chronic the adult respiratory distress syndrome, hypoglycemia, renal failure, bleeding, DIC, severe jaundice, and severe normochromic and normocytic anemia. What are chronic complications of anemia? Those are tropic splenomegaly syndrome, quaternary nephropathy, and promotes Burkitt's lymphoma. So yes guys, these were the basic complications and chronic complications and complications of malaria and pathogenesis of P. falciparum malaria, which is important, and before that life cycle of malaria. Hope you enjoyed the video. This was a sincere effort by me, just very first time, having no experience at all of putting a video, but still this was a very honest effort, to be honest. Yes, hope you get help from this video as it is very user friendly. Yes, thank you so much.